because we have everybody that has been brought in as attendees. You guys are all listed as panelists right now. We're going to try to get through this meeting and hopefully everything will work out just fine. Okay, so opening. Cheshire TV relies on the strength of its members, staff, and board to work together. Over these past few months, we have all been educated as to the importance of following Robert's rules. And while there are clarifications in the bylaws, procedural guidelines, and minor updates to forms and methods, Cheshire TV has identified areas where we need to do a little bit better job. All of us need to know our part in the process, and this needs to start from the beginning. As I look back now, I realize how ill-prepared I was, as my experience on the Cheshire TV board is much different than any board I have ever been on. In the future, we must be upfront with anyone new to the organization and not assume that they come to the table with all the information required to fulfill their obligations to the organization. This goes for members, staff, and board. Forethought, strategic planning, and communication are key to the stability and the future of Cheshire TV. Living with COVID and the restrictions it has placed on us has required organizations to hold meetings virtually, and with this brings challenges. Our last few meetings, while not perfect, have been designed to offer people a chance to speak without interruption. This meeting has once again been set up as a Zoom webinar and will be recorded. And that's really so that we can make sure that we have the records correct, because right now we don't have a secretary. We have been working on our website to make it easier for you to locate information that you might find helpful. The video and minutes will be made available on our website soon after this meeting. What's different this time is that we will begin the meeting in an open forum where one person can speak at a time. If this works and we are successful, then everyone should be able to see the speakers and have an opportunity to speak as addressed by the chair. Please state your name, be addressed by the chair, but please state your name and then proceed to speak. Each person will have approximately 3 minutes and 2 chances to verbalize per motion if they so choose. I've done the roll call and I don't see anyone else in the attendance waiting. So we'll start beginning the meeting. We do have a quorum. We have, I believe, 5 people here from the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we have a quorum. And we will have time for public input. And that'll be available at the end where the new business section is. So again, we ask that you please be respectful of others. Please be recognized by the chair prior to beginning and give others a chance to speak as well. So we're going to start with our agenda tonight. We do have a guest here. It is Karen Bloomberg from Aptiva. We're not going to start with her right off, but we are going to start with the approval of our minutes and then go through the agenda as it is written. Okay, everybody all set to go? Okay, so we are going to start with the October 27th special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to see that those are passed? Is there any that has questions? Or yes, Dave Payson, you need to take yourself off mute, Dave.
I don't think he heard you.
He might have a problem. He sometimes has a problem with his internet.
Oh,
he's getting there, I think. There we go.
Yay, did it.
Hey, Dave. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. I move to pass these minutes.
Okay. So Dave makes the motion to pass the minutes of October 27th. Do we have a second?
Steve Hooper seconds.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to pass the minutes of October 27th. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will vote. I'm going to go through the list. We have Ken Colby.
Yes.
Okay. Christina Germano.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Steve
sorry.
Hooper.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I apologize. I raised my hand, but nobody called on me, so I'm not sure what to do next. I don't want to break the rule.
That's Lee.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
No,
Please.
that's okay. Lee, I did not even see that you were here. You have your little thing there, and I thought it was a black hole. Okay, I do apologize.
No, that's okay. It's the internet here is so bad that I'm not trying to do video and audio at the same time.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I just did not notice it. Okay, go right ahead, Lee.
So I just wanted to ask for clarification. We talked about this at the last meeting. This was a special board meeting that should have been given 2 days notice to the members, and it wasn't. And I just would like some explanation as to why we're having a vote to approve minutes for a meeting that never happened.
Okay, well, I mean, if it didn't happen, if it never happened, then I'm fine not to pass, minutes on it. But I can't tell you why you didn't find out about it. I don't think we did it on purpose. It was just one of those things. I thought that we needed to have the board have 2 days notice, and that's what we did. So in the future, we will let the membership know if that's what we're supposed to do. But I was under the impression that the board needed 2 days notice. So I apologize, but that's where we're at. If we don't pass it, we don't pass it.
Right. So if there wasn't a meeting, any motions or seconds or votes are void, any action taken is void. It never happened. So
That's
I'm going
fine.
to ask what took place during the non-public session,
Okay.
but no one's
All right.
going to tell me.
Well,
so I'm not really sure what to do.
So what I can tell you is I will open this up if the board is okay with this. Do I have any objection from the
I'm
board?
fine.
I don't have an objection as long as we don't speak of any personnel
Details.
issues, which our closed sessions have mostly been about personnel.
Right. So this was a meeting that probably didn't even need to be closed. It was to review hiring Nick Morton. I looked at it as a personnel issue because I didn't want things coming out if there was something that we found that was wrong. So this is why we did that meeting as a closed session. Maybe I was wrong, but I'm just trying to be careful because when it comes to personnel, I don't want things going out into the world that shouldn't be. So I feel comfortable not even having done that one as a closed session. I just wanted to make sure that the board approved and we talked about hiring Nick Morton, and that's what we talked about at that meeting. So if we're okay with not using that as a closed session, I'm perfectly fine with it because I had nothing to hide and I don't think any of the board did either. Does that work for you, Lee?
He's muted again.
I didn't mute him. He's muted himself.
No, I'm sorry. I'm doing this as fast as I can. I just
know.
wanted to be muted so that I wasn't contributing to the background racket.
Yeah, no problem.
So I understand what you're saying. I don't personally have a problem with, so the problem with going to non-public session is there's an extremely limited number of reasons it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into non-public session and it turns out that during the non-public, nothing was discussed that would require it to remain non-public,
Mm-hmm.
then it just becomes public.
And that's,
If you vote to seal it, there needs to be a motion saying why it was sealed.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, usually it's negative stuff that would hurt a person's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Hiring a new person wouldn't ever be non-public under any circumstances. So I would say, unseal the minutes, let them become, public knowledge, because hiring of staff at Cheshire TV isn't ever going to be non-public. Even the discussion of salary and benefits are public.
Mm-hmm.
That's stuff that people are allowed to know if they want.
okay.
So, I'm really uncomfortable saying, oh yeah, you didn't hire him because you didn't follow this one little technicality,
Mm-hmm.
because that seems foolish, because you could just have a meeting 2 days from now and rehire him. So my goal here isn't that, but to just try to keep it from getting to the point where it's just, sorry, and I'm going to wrap up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's alarming for me that in 15 years, there were all of 2 non-public meetings, and in the past 6 months, there have been like 7. So as long as non-public meetings or non-public sessions are only for the reasons allowed by the Sunshine Law,
Mm-hmm.
and the sealing of the minutes is done in accordance with the rules, then, I think that's fair and reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that doesn't follow those rules has to be public. I'll mute myself now.
Yeah, and that's fine. I do apologize. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm just a very cautious person. I was not sure if something would come up at the meeting that somebody would say, that they didn't want him for some odd reason. So this is just me being cautious. Vicky, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
I did, in regards to public and non-public. So negotiations for employees is non-public because, like Jody had said, something may come up and they have to discuss perhaps somebody has a litany of violations against them. You don't want to discuss that in public, but it's important to bring up if you're considering somebody for employment. Also, negotiations. If you held everything in public and let's say Nick wanted 50 grand a year and somebody else came in and said, with 20 more years experience, said, I'm looking for 35 grand a year. If it was public, they would both go to the 50 grand. So the negotiations need to be in non-public. And trust me, I'm on the board of Right to Know. I am a huge fan of public documents, but there are times when non-public sessions are required. And as far as approving the minutes, because there is no law that requires approval of minutes, it's foolish. They must be posted in 5 days, but there's no law saying they could be in limbo for years. So you have time, and I would suggest caution on this and review, perhaps, when you come back to the office, review the minutes. But I would exercise caution on releasing non-public minutes surrounding employment issues.
Okay. So that will give you an example of why the decision was made. Anna, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Can you remind me what he was being hired for?
We do not have an executive director right now. And
Okay.
so in the interim of having an executive director, he was hired as the director of operations so that Cheshire TV could sustain itself. And he's very good with working on, different meetings and such. So he's got a lot of good technical background.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I feel like we're in the middle of this right now because I'm really not sure what we should do here. Maybe we should just table this for now and then review it and then come back to this at a later date. As Vicky was saying, it doesn't have to be voted on tonight. So maybe we can have a motion to just table it for a later meeting. If the board feels, or if you want to vote on it, we will take a motion, whatever the board would like to take as a motion. Christina.
I think that's great information from Vicky. Thank you. And
Yes.
and I think with all of the work that we have to do, and because these minutes in the first 4 items of the agenda are approval of minutes, the fact that we either have or will make them public now that we have a little bit more detail on it, I would move to table approving these minutes. And that could be just some more housekeeping things, but we do have an awful lot of work to do. So I would move to table the first 4 items of the agenda, which are all in reference to reviewing and approving the minutes of October 27th, November 9th, November 10th. And then there were no minutes for the 19th because we did not have a quorum and it was really an informational discussion.
Right. So we really don't have to, I don't think we'd have to approve that one anyway, Christina.
Correct.
Okay. So if it's okay that I amend it, that we're tabling the approval of minutes for October 27th, November 9th, and November 10th at this time. Is there a second? Okay, Steve Hooper. So Christina, Steve Hooper. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Kirsten?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I don't want to jump ahead. My teachers told me all my years in school that I would race ahead in class, but since we're tabling the discussion of the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting, I would like to talk about, kind of follow up on the comments I made during the dialogue.
Now, when you're in your dialogue that you're talking about, Kirsten, are we going to be going over that probably in the Finance Committee Treasurer's Report?
Well, that's why I wanted to make sure.
Okay, because we have that later on the agenda.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, so the motion has been made to table approving the minutes for October 27th, November 9th, and November 10th. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, we will vote. Ken Colby,
Yes.
Christina Germano,
Yes.
Steve Hooper,
Yes.
Dave Payson.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes, and we will move on to the next item of business. We received an announcement from Diane Forcier on Friday, November 20th, the day after we were supposed to have our dialogue. She has resigned. It's just too much for her right now, and she's got a mother that is ill. Then we also received a resignation from Andy Hunick. He was a elected board member, and Diane was an appointed board member. So we received Andy's after the minutes went out. That's why that wasn't on the agenda. That's why it wasn't on the agenda. But what we would like to do is make a motion to bring another board member or another person on as an appointed board member. And the person that I would like to see come on is Conan Salata. Conan was a previous secretary, and I've talked with him. And if someone would be interested in making a motion to appoint Conan to the board as an appointed board member, that would be great.
I have a question.
Yes,
I
Christina.
just want to make sure. So we have, even when we appoint Conan, does that mean there's 4 or 5 elected members for this election? Does that
There's
still leave
5
5
elected members for the
even after this
election.
appointment?
Yes, the appointed. So right now we're only at 6. We have 1 elected, which is me, and then 5 appointed, you and the municipalities.
Okay.
So is there? Go ahead.
Yeah, Conan, do you have something, you just like to tell us a little bit about yourself to get appointed? If you, are you willing to take on some secretarial roles until we get our board full again and we make sure we have a secretary and so forth?
Sure. Can you guys hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did serve on the board in 2018 as well as in 2019. 2019, I served as the secretary. I'm just coming back to help out in these seems like trying times. I know that Jody has a whole bunch on her plate, and I think this might help alleviate some of that issue. I've been taking notes as the evening has commenced. I'm getting back into it. It's a regular fit for me. But I would like this just to be temporary as a board member as well as secretary. If maybe one day, and maybe Lee has some ideas on this. Not all nonprofits and organizations like this include their secretaries and their treasurers as having to be directors. But that in our bylaws it's a must. So maybe one day down the line that we can get that changed where actual members can serve in those two departments and not have to be directors. And that might be a lot of that might help alleviate some of the stress on you guys. But as of right now, I'm happy to help out in any capacity that I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I? say something?
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Jody, I too acknowledge how much you do for us, and I want to thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Okay, is there a motion for Conan? Dave Payson?
I move that we appoint Conan Salata to be a director of the board of directors.
I'll second that.
As an appointed board member, correct? Yes. Okay, so we have a first from Dave Payson, and Christina is seconding the motion to bring on Conan Salata as a new appointed board member. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll vote. Ken Colby,
Yes.
Christina Germano,
Yes.
Steve Hooper,
Yes.
Dave Payson,
Yes.
and I think that's it. Did I miss somebody?
Ken.
And Steve.
Ken.
Ken
Colby.
Colby. Yes, Ken Colby. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. And so we now have Conan as an appointed board member, but we'd like to bring him on as the secretary. So could we have a motion to bring Conan on as our secretary?
So moved.
Okay, Ken Colby is making a motion to bring Conan Salata on as the secretary for Cheshire TV. Do we have a second?
Second.
Steve Hooper has made the second. So we have a motion to bring Conan Salata on as the secretary. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, just want to thank Conan for stepping up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Conan.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, let's see.
Welcome back, Conan.
Okay, but we have to
Lucky
take
you.
we have to take the vote on this, I believe, still. That was the first part. So let's take a vote on this if there's no more further discussion. Ken Colby,
Yes.
Christina Germano,
Yes.
Steve Hooper,
Yes,
Dave Payson.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So welcome, Conan. Now you guys can say welcome.
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 Okay,
Conan.
all right. Okay,
Okay.
so I just wanted to let you guys know that we have Karen Bloomberg here from Aptiva HR. We, as a board, asked for their help back in, I believe, January or so of 2020. And what they did is they came in and talked with our staff because we were having some problems and we wanted to try to figure out what we should do. So they came in, talked with our staff, the board talked about it, and then things happened. Somebody got sick, we came into COVID, and all of this stuff kind of went around. We did the best that we could. So we didn't make any decisions right off, but we were already talking about things back in the early part of the year. So Karen and her staff have come back in and talked with our new staff to try to figure out what we can do to make things better and to encourage the staff to do great things. So Karen, I'm going to give this to you. What I do have on the list though is you've done the staff interviews. You are going to be working with us for the executive director search and the employee handbook.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Okay. So hi, everybody. I'm Karen Blumberg.
Karen.
With Adaptiva HR. And so, yes, as you heard, about a year ago, I came in and did a lot of interviews to figure out what was going on. There were some issues and made some recommendations at the time, which I think I submitted to the board, got submitted to the board. And then I didn't really hear much and figured, we would hear at some point. And then, yeah, Jody, you contacted me again, having read those recommendations. And in those recommendations, it seemed that what you guys were missing was really a strong leader, executive director. That Mark was real nice, but he didn't really have the management leadership skills that it seemed like the office needed. And there were some issues in the office. And so talking with Jody about what your needs are now, it sounded like you're really looking for an executive director and, taking the recommendations of having somebody who is a strong leader and a good office manager, and also somebody who can do outreach and work with the community as well, are some of the important, bullet points of what you'll be looking for. So toward the effort of the executive director search, I did what we call employee engagement interviews. And those interviews were to, interview all the employees and find out a couple of things, how they were feeling at work, how the workplace culture was feeling to them, what was working, what are the things that weren't working, things that they liked about their job. Did they feel they got enough training to do the job that they were doing? How do they feel, working with their coworkers, things like that, just to see how they were doing at work. And there was a lot of really great positive things that were said. People really like the work they're doing there. They really enjoyed it. It's a passion. And the culture has some really positive things in it. And then there are some things that I submitted in the report that, could be improved and worked on in terms of the culture and how people were feeling in it. So the employee engagement interviews really do help drive the executive director search. I did ask them what they felt they would want in an executive director. And they were really, most people said they want somebody who's really open to innovation, that the field is really changing and technology is changing and has changed since, CTV started. And so they were really excited about somebody to come in with some new ideas, creative ideas about how to take public access TV into, the future. So that was a real common thing that I heard. And so we're helping with the executive director search. We submitted, I don't know if you've gotten it yet, Jody, from Jen, my colleague, but we created a job posting for you so that, to advertise for you. And some questions for you, Jody, interview questions. And we're waiting to hear about, where that is and how things are going. And then we also are updating the employee handbook because from my understanding, it hadn't been updated in a long time. And that's my colleague, Jen, who's doing that piece. And that's about so far where we're at. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to know. Yeah.
Kirsten? You got to take yourself. Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. If
That's
you'd
okay.
like, I can hold my questions until the board has completed the discussion with Karen.
There's no, it's really informational tonight
Yeah.
from Karen.
Oh, okay. Hi, Karen. I'm Kirsten.
Hi.
How are
Nice
you?
to meet you. Good.
Good. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
I did. I had some dog health drama, but it's all part of it.
You look like sisters.
So this is great because we've known about you guys at Aptiva and then formerly Thrive as I was kind of looking back through the Cheshire.
Yes, we were Thrive.
Right.
Yes.
So, but I do have some questions for you. So, has Adaptiva or formerly Thrive ever done talent acquisition for any position like an executive director or anything that resembles this before?
You mean for this kind of a field in particular?
Right. For this field, for a nonprofit PEG station and the role of executive director.
I don't know that we've ever done specifically, an executive director search for a public access TV station, but we've done a lot of executive director searches for profit, non-for-profit, all kinds of creative businesses. We work with a really large variety of businesses, actually, from mental health hospitals to very small creative businesses to restaurants. I mean, what's interesting about the work that I do that I like is I get to meet all kinds of different people in different kinds of businesses. So we felt really comfortable being able to, do a search and partly, the employee engagement interviews and also interviewing Jody were to find out, what the culture is like, what exactly you do need, so that was part of the research that we've been undertaking. Yeah. So
the executive directive, while it is true that there is a management aspect to it and the workplace culture cannot be, it's very important, the job itself is highly technical. So my question to you would be there's the side of it, well, we want someone who is personable and has flexible management styles and can do conflict resolution with staff, but then there's, do they know how to run a TV station? Because it's like a plug and play. So can you describe on that side what information the board gave you in terms of qualifications someone must have when you're searching for them?
Well, Jody we asked for a job description for not only a job description that you had about the previous job descriptions for an executive director at CTV. We also did some interviewing with Jody about what she felt and what the board would feel would be needed in an executive director. So a lot of that really came from you guys and from Jody, our conversations with her about what really you feel you're looking for. I do have to say though, behavioral management consulting is something I do a lot of and have done for a long time. And when I consulted last year at CTV, all the issues that were going on that were making work a very difficult place to be were really because the person that you had in the role wasn't a manager in any way, shape, or form. And it was really contributing to a lot of the issues and the personnel issues.
Sure, I understand. Yeah. But I guess what I mean is that there are technical systems in place where if you get a phone call in the middle of the night, you're going to need to know how to troubleshoot problems with whether or not the channel is broadcasting television. So that is the thing I want to know. I'm talking about like, not are you a good manager, but are you looking for people who've run PEG stations before? Are you familiar with this industry, that kind of thing?
Surely, and that's all in the job posting and job description. And really, our job is really to help you post and look for the job. And really, it's Jody my understanding, who's going to be interviewing the candidates and doing that piece of it. As far as really you're hiring us and we can do as much of it as you like or as little of it as you like, just
Yeah.
depending. And so we're really assisting Jody at the moment in doing those pieces. So what you guys want in this position is really coming from you. But yes, on the job posting, we have included, there's a technical side to this. Absolutely.
Okay.
And
Someone
just
needs to have both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just to clarify too, the only reason that she keeps bringing my name up is we haven't had a chance. We were going to do this at the November 10th meeting. We haven't had a chance to establish a search hiring committee,
Right.
which we want to do tonight, because I don't want to be the only person that makes decisions on finding somebody as a executive director. We
Oh,
know
of
that
course.
there's a lot to it. I'm sorry, just one second, Christina.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of point to that the search committee is number 10 on the agenda to kind of put that together. And, yes, there's a lot of technical knowledge that is needed. But from being in the depths and pulling my sleeves up, there is definitely a need for someone that does have management and some financial acumen and so forth, because right now, without an executive director, the board has been pretty much doing the day in and day out, the banking and all kinds of things that the executive director is going to need to do. So, and I think as a board, there will be discussions, but I'm looking forward to seeing what a search hiring committee of the board will look like, because I think all of these pieces coming to play and being able to work with Karen as a team, as opposed to you being the only point person, will be a really positive thing.
Yeah, and we're not crafting who you're going to have. That comes from you. We're just the person who's putting it together for you. So we're really taking our lead from what you're telling us you feel you need and want. And also, to that point, what the person also needs to be able to do to be a good manager is create workflow and work systems, because in the employment engagement interviews, there are some issues in terms of how the work is done, organization, that isn't happening, and workflow. And so those are going to be important skills as well to get the office really working well.
Yeah, it's really vital to have an excellent executive director. This is very important to Cheshire TV.
Sure. I just have a few more questions, if that's okay. I'm not trying to take up too much time. So, Karen, what salary did the board give you for the new ED?
Salary that I was given was between 50 and 60,000.
Awesome.
And I had asked for us, if it wanted to be more narrowed down, and I was told not yet. So again, the job posting I don't think has gone out yet. It hasn't gone for final review.
Okay.
You guys will review it, but that's what I was told to put. So that's what we have.
And then this question, thank you so much, Karen. And then this question, I guess, is for you, or perhaps more appropriate for the board. The relationship between Cheshire TV and Adaptiva, is it a contract or is it pay as you go? What is the financial relationship with hiring Adaptiva?
It's Adaptiva.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I know it's a really complicated name. We had to give up Thrive. We didn't choose to.
Is it like, is it Adaptiva? Is it Adaptiva?
We're adapting to it. To Adaptiva. It's a hard one. Yeah.
Sure. So was there a contract signed where, we are going to be paying you for the duration of a certain period of time, or is it as jobs are completed, you're paid for job by job?
I can answer that, Jody, if you want me to.
Go right ahead.
We basically, made a bid. We were, things were chosen that we needed to do: the employee handbook, the employee engagement interviews, and the executive director search. And we put a number of guesstimated hours, that would take us. And then we put a price tag on that piece of work, with the understanding it's a little give and take. It's a ballpark, but we could pretty much try to keep it within a certain amount that we bid on. And that was agreed upon. We've also talked a lot about, you can add to the services, which is going to increase the cost. So we can do as much of it as you like, or as little of it as you like, or any in between, and we can adjust it as we go. But really, yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
I think the board was trying to be cautious. We know that we have work that needs to be done, but we aren't willing to spend a ton of money, but we wanted to spend what we needed to get to where we need to be.
Right.
Sort of along that vein, Jody, in terms of, and I love that your company, Karen, you kind of like the man of many hats. I think that's great. But in terms of just talent acquisition, Jody, did you get competitive bids for other companies to do talent acquisition, or how many different options did you explore?
Right. We went with Aptiva because when we were looking back in like January or February, they came in at the very lowest that we could find, and they're a local company. And so the board felt that we were comfortable going with them again.
So you
This
did.
isn't a long-term contract. This is just to get us started. And just one moment, Christina would like to say something too, if you don't mind, Kirsten.
I just wanted to point out, we did have in, I forget what month it was, in a board meeting, we did vote to hire Aptiva. We did put a cap on what we would spend in order for them to do these things as we move forward. It is included in the budget for this year, which is also public information. So, the homework was done and we're quite comfortable working with Aptiva.
I think that's great, Christina. And to speak to that as well, I actually did review the minutes for the past year, and I see where last summer when it was Thrive, there was a conversation in the minutes about hiring Thrive for personnel issues. And then going all the way through the minutes, there was, so what you're describing, I couldn't find. Please forward me the minutes if you can find them. I see where it says the board has decided to continue or to either continue. I don't have them right in front of me, but
Okay.
I guess
We'll make sure they're on the website for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, specifically which minutes, because everything that you posted, I printed and read through. But and this is why I'm asking, because when I read through them, I'm like, okay, so what it looks like happened, and this is why I'm asking, it looks like you hired a company for personnel issues and then stayed with them and they can do other things. So what I'm looking for is a moment when you said, let's check out these 1 to any other companies that do talent acquisition or have experience in PEG settings. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirsten. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else for Karen tonight? Yes, Dave. Dave Kirkpatrick.
Takes me a sec to unmute myself.
That's okay.
I guess I would like to know when did the search for the executive director begin? When did you take on this role?
When did I take on the role, or we
Yeah.
take on the role? Well, let's say the search, I mean, it's a process, and we walked Jody through the entire process, how it begins. I would say we started about 2-3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And there's a lot of pieces. And again, there's a whole process that we outlined and sent to Jody of how we go about the whole process. So we're in phase 1, I think, still of the process. And I think phase 2 will begin pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when she's saying that we started 2 or 3 weeks ago, that's when the interviews started, but we did approve it at least a month or so ago. I'd have to say, I'd have to go back to the minutes too and see which meeting it was, but I remember the vote on it. So we contacted them as soon as we had the vote. So,
Okay. Well, I'd like to ask then, so you had nothing to do previously with the ED search. It started and it stopped for a while, so you weren't involved in.
no,
I guess
David,
my question then is, I'm aware that recently a person was hired to be the executive director here. And that, I guess I'm curious as to the process as to how that happened. We've been talking a lot tonight about the skills and the qualifications that you're aiming for now that Adaptiva is. I guess I'd like to understand that whole process where, there's somebody right now at Cheshire TV who answers to executive director at CheshireTV.org. He's now in a position that didn't exist before. I mean, this is really for the board, but
that's fine.
I need to understand that process better.
Yes. Yeah. Dave Payson, you had a question, or did you have a comment, or I can?
And I'm not sure if it's a question or comment. I do. My understanding is that Aptiva has been working with the board to shape the search for the new executive director, but in terms of the search itself, looking for a new executive director, that hasn't started. in the context of Dave's Patrick's most recent question about the current interim director, that person was hired as an interim director to fill a gap. They will not, as far as I know, be applying for a job as the full-time executive director or the continuing executive director. It's a stopgap.
Right. So he is an interim, Dave. His title is Director of Operations. And we needed somebody at the station that had technical skills. And Nick had the skills that we were looking for.
So he was hired as an interim executive director, and he's now the
he is-
operations director.
He is hired as the Director of Operations in the interim of not having an executive director.
Okay, I mean,
The email, we only have so many emails that we can use. And so we felt that instead of having a name, it would be best to have executive director so that when the new executive director comes in, that it will be flawless and it will go through to the executive director.
you have unlimited emails you can use, but okay.
No, well, not really. I mean, it costs money to add all kinds of different names and things like that. So we were trying to be careful on what we were spending.
I maintain a website. You can have a million emails at your domain. That's not a problem. Anyway,
Okay.
that I think that's what I wanted to ask. So
Okay,
thank you.
great. Christina, did you have something to say? No, all set. Okay. All right, very good. So if we're all set, anybody else? Okay, if we're all set, thank you very much, Karen. It was great having you come on board and talk with us. I'm glad that we finally got this started. It's been a long time in coming, and I feel that we're headed in the right direction.
Yeah,
So
great. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you very much, Karen.
You're welcome. Nice to meet you
Thank
all.
you. Yes, nice to meet you.
Okay.
Would you
All
like me
right.
to stay or?
Karen, it's totally up to you. If you'd like to
Okay.
stay, you're welcome.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Nice
All
to
right.
meet you all.
Yes. All right. So the next item is number 7, Finance Committee. Christina, do you have something to offer for that?
Yes and no. As a treasurer, I have a bit to offer. So we've been doing a lot of work in the background, getting the banks changed over. There was a hiccup with Rust and Company, who does our bookkeeping. They lost access to the bank account because our previous executive director had provided their own logon instead of a limited logon. That should have been just informational. So
And that
Rust
was, Christina, just to clarify, that was the real
the
executive,
one
not
that
the
had been here
interim.
for a while. Yes,
Right,
Mark.
right.
So we got that cleared up. We got Rust and Company a logon so that it's informational only, that they don't have the power to do ACHs and wire transfers, which is a good controls thing. I wanted to let everyone know, we also this past week submitted the annual report to the Secretary of State. It is a different annual report than goes to Cheshire TV. It does include a copy of our tax return, the audited financial statements, and Joe Bendisky, when he was on, I think I said his name right, when he was on the board and the previous treasurer, did have the foresight to file an extension for that and to pay the $75 filing fee. So we were in good shape there once we got everything approved through the city and so forth to get the Secretary of State filed. So that's all in good shape.
And Christina, can I just say that that information is available online if anybody is interested in looking at it? I believe that the state posts it.
Yes, it's all public information, the tax return with details, yeah, and the financials, and the certificate of good standing in the state will all be there as well. So we've been doing some of that work. We don't really have a finance committee right now. It was myself, Joe Bendisky, and Andy Hunek. Joe is not on the board. The last time Andy and I met, no, I did not tell everyone we were having a finance committee meeting, but it was, we had the audited financial statements, we had the budget to review and to compare to last year's financials, to have a couple of sets of eyes on it so that we could get it to the city. So I am looking forward again to getting more board members because we do need a finance committee. What we plan on doing and has been done is we will issue a quarterly treasurer's report. It'll be a summary report. So the quarter, which we did present back on a meeting that we had back on November 10th that didn't come to fruition because of some issues with the meeting itself. We did talk about where we were with the first quarter moving forward. So the quarter ends on December 31st. It will take the month of January for our accountants to make sure all the information is updated and accurate. We will have a finance committee by then, hopefully. And then the finance committee will meet the week before the normal board meeting to discuss anything that's going on with the financials, and it will be presented. So right now, our actual finance committee treasurer's report is scheduled for the board meeting of February.
Okay. All right. So this is mostly informational then tonight. What I can tell you too is if you think about it, we are already about almost 6 months into our budget. So we're quite a ways. We just need to keep going. But Kirsten, did you have any questions? You said you had some questions before.
Yeah, so hi Christina. Did you get a chance? I know you weren't at the dialogue, or I didn't see that you were there. Did you have a chance to listen and watch and review everyone's statements?
I was not at the dialogue. I was my child came home from college and I was spending an evening with her, so I did not. Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. So I know you just said that. So we're talking about the November 9th Finance Committee meeting, right? So on Friday, Lee emailed you and said, hey, I'm not directly quoting, but he said, hey, you're having this thing on Monday. You got to make sure you post it. And then you didn't. And you said, next time we will. So I just would like to know why, after being told that you had to, you chose not to at all.
What was not
available
posted?
Monday the 9th at noon. I was available. I would have liked to participated in a finance committee meeting, even just to sit and listen, to be more informed and have more information. And so it's kind of awkward because I guess I'm asking you right out, why did you make that decision?
So can I answer something, Christina, before you start?
I would like Christina to answer it.
Okay, that's fine. But I would like to say something after.
Of course.
Thank you.
So we did have, like I said, it was an impromptu finance committee meeting because the board was meeting. We needed to review. There were 3 or 4 months leading up to that point. There was, we needed to look at the budget. We needed to make some changes to the annual report that the city asked for some more detail on our cash position. So we put that together. And we did not have a Zoom meeting. We met in Keene. The one request I got was from Lee, and I told him, please join us at the Oval at Keene at noon on Monday, I believe it was, if he was available to do that. There was absolutely nothing trying to hide anything. There were some reports we needed to get to the city, and having a limited board and having the several previous meetings not being very productive whatsoever due to quite a bit of contention and other things going on. We did meet. I had just got my QuickBooks log on, actually, I believe on that Friday, so that I could even go and print some first quarter information to see if we were close to budget, to see what was going on. So all of that information is public. It is available. Between November 7th and November 9th, we were under a gun to get some finance things done. So it was not an intentional oversight to not send a email out to all members to say, join me on the Oval in Keene. But we are working on this. We now have this platform for Zoom that I will ask Jody to help set up. So when we have our future finance committee meetings, they will be Zoom and not face-to-face for now, until we get through this pandemic.
Yeah. So what I would like to say is we are making some changes. We are setting, the next item of business is just mostly informational as well, but we are going to be having a calendar on our website so that people will know about meetings that are coming up. And we are going to be doing things to hopefully have people more aware of things. What I can tell you is I've talked with Joe Benzinski, who was the treasurer for quite some time. I've talked with some other previous board members, and they say they never remember inviting anybody to these meetings except for the people that were on the committee. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. But what we do plan to do is have a calendar so people will be aware of the future meetings that are coming up.
Perfect, perfect. As far as financial documents, others and myself have requested different types of financial documents. We don't have them. So I guess I'm going to ask again, is there a way we can get P&Ls? Like, I know you've been getting, like, we've emailed back and forth, you've emailed with Lee. So can you tell me, like, I want to see spending trends because there has been so many in and out, right? Like Jody, you've talked about how things have been really crazy, right?
But not financially.
Okay, well then I would like to see the P&Ls for, and I can, certainly provide a little more detail.
So the board's, I believe our board feeling is if somebody is asking for it, we will make it public and put it on our website. So we don't feel that one person, if one person's asking for it, other members should be getting the information as well. So we do have our annual report and we do have our budget on our website, and we will have more information available there as well. Christina, you can talk about the P&L, but we want to provide information. We just want to make sure that the information that we're providing is information that we should be sharing. So Christina?
Yeah, from a financial control standpoint, just opening up access to QuickBooks to 50 members is not something that we're going to do. We will, according to the bylaws, issue a quarterly financial statement. Like Jody said, the budget and the annual report are on there. Any board member, any of the municipalities do have the right to ask to examine the books in detail. That is not something that we have found anywhere, either in the state of New Hampshire or our bylaws, that financials are 100% open to members. It's not that we're going to hide anything, but it will I have, almost 40 years experience as an accountant, and many of them with nonprofits. And if you just put out information that has not been reviewed, so a perfect example is the first quarter financials that I did share in that November 10th meeting. There was a very significant error, if you will, but a reclassification that needed to happen. So if I handed a P&L through the end of September to the members, it appeared that there was a $7,000 loss on the quarter. What needed and needs to be reclassed, and only the hired accountants can do these kind of journal entries, is there was a $22,000 invoice for our Nexus system, which is part of a capital budget, not an expense budget, as well as an approved computer that came in for $2,799. Accounting principles say that anything that has a useful life of more than 2 years and is over $2,500 is capitalized and not expense. So that's a really perfect example of, if I just printed a P&L and sent it off to the members for the end of September, it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows and, oh my gosh, we're $7,000 in the red, when really, in fact, we were 14,000 something profitable, and looking at that, tying it to the budget. So part of my job as treasurer and reviewing financial statements is looking for anomalies. So if there's something that doesn't look like it's jiving with the budget on a quarterly basis, or something that stuck out so huge right there that there wasn't, a computer expense for $22,000 was part of the capital budget, that is my job. That is my role. I will share all the information, but I'm not going to give members 100% as soon as they ask access to print off a P&L and give it to you if I'm not confident that it is accurate.
Okay, I understand what you've said. Jody, can you see that Lee has his hand up?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I did
Don't,
not.
sorry, I think
Nope.
it just happened. I
Yeah.
don't want to be the only person talking, you know what I mean?
Okay, so you're all set, Kirsten? Okay. Yes, Lee.
Hi, thanks. I hope everybody can hear me. I appreciate, can everybody hear me? Anybody?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that explanation. I have some concerns because it doesn't really address any of what has gone before. I've been requesting data since August, and I've asked for data that's at least a year old in some cases, and I've received none of that. In particular, I'm bothered by the fact that every board member should be fully aware of all of the requirements and the operating agreement rights with the city. So there's a contract, and every single board member should know what's in it. And that contract requires quarterly detailed transaction listings. The exact thing that Christina just went to great lengths to tell us that we could not see is required by the city. And when I ask for something like that, and then I follow that with an email explaining why I need it, and the reason that I need it is because I've glanced at the budget, and after making 11 of those things over the years, I see serious problems right out of the gate. The problem that I think needs to be addressed before anything else happens tonight is why and how is it that a person who has every right to request something that should already have been done per requirement from the city. So not only are you guys failing to keep that agreement with the city, you're then telling members who have a right to ask for it, no. And it isn't for any of the reasons Christina just mentioned, because I was asking for things from last year and those things aren't relevant anymore, except for someone who knows what they're doing to compare historical trends to current budget plans. We've got a budget that doesn't have any room for error. Having done this for so long, I can tell you that there were months where I put my own money in the bank to cover things. That's how tight the budget is. And I'm looking at a budget that has been presented to the city in an FOP meeting, albeit a draft, and to some degree the board, that is absolutely not based in the real world. You're talking about hiring an executive director at a $60,000 a year salary. You've already hired 3 new staff members, and no one has done a resource capacity analysis to determine what labor requirements you have and can you afford to pay them. In short, you are writing checks you can't cash. And I'm telling all of you right now, when a member, especially someone who is a recognized expert in the topic, says, please provide me with data that I am legally allowed to have, the answer should be yeah, tomorrow, not no, and here's why. And I want to also further add that while I appreciate everything Christina said, I want there to be no confusion. She was told well in advance that all meetings had to be public. That meeting wasn't impromptu. It was scheduled 4 days in advance. I'm telling the board of directors that you have a person on your board that violated the bylaws knowingly. She did it because she's mad at me. She knows that I can't just come to the Oval. And in any case, you don't just tell one person, you tell the whole membership.
Right.
And there needs to be no more discussion about what things used to be. I used to be 140 pounds. I'm talking about last week. I'm talking about 2 weeks ago, not 4 years ago. If Joe Benzinski didn't invite members to come to Finance Committee, shame on him. He knew better. And board members like Ken Colby and Dave, who have been around for a while, I don't understand why you guys are acting like you don't know how things are supposed to go. Some of you have been involved with the renegotiation of that contract that went on for over 13 months. To now say that you don't know what's in it is just, it's shameful. And if the members were paying closer attention, these conversations would happen more often. And I think you're seeing that as members start paying attention, they have valid questions. And their valid questions aren't being answered. They're being given platitudes and being told things that are flat out not true. So I'm going to ask in front of everybody one more time, can I see detailed expenditure reports for the past 16 months or not?
Lee, I had asked.
You see what I'm saying? Not yes, just silence. I
Okay,
specifically
Well,
asked
because
Christina will answer.
Lee, because I tend to try to think before I speak and I accuse people of things. I did not say that the members could not have the information. What I said was that based on the bylaws, quarterly reports will include expenditures. I have only been the treasurer for not even this whole quarter. So if you want to not talk about what's in the past, then you need to let it go, because I only became treasurer in the October meeting. So to say what has been done in the past and 16 months worth of expenditures, and that you have a right to see everything, I have not seen, and I have read the bylaws again and again over the past 6 months when you brought them up, that the board and the municipalities have every right to come in and inspect the books of record when asked to do so. There is nothing that says the membership can just email a treasurer and expect everything to be dropped and then to compile information for the membership because you once did this for 11 years.
So I never said a
So-
word about the bylaws,
so I-
Christina. I'm asking you to answer my question. Will you give me
I will,
detailed transaction report?
no, I will
Okay,
not
Steve
go
Hooper.
back.
Steve
You-
Hooper, she has violated
know
the
what?
operating rights
You-
agreement.
Enough,
You are
enough,
interrupting me, Lee. I
You're
will
just talking.
enough.
You're
This
just
is why
talking
we do
nonsense.
this, Lee. Please,
Okay,
one
let her
person at a
talk. But
time.
when she's done, I'm going to address it.
This is a board meeting, Lee. I will not drop everything to look at 16 months worth of expenditures that prior to my tenure, if that was something that needed to go to the city, did not, I will certainly address to make sure that that gets to the city and they have all the information. What I have done since my tenure as a treasurer is did help get the annual report to the city, answer their particular questions about our cash position, about some budget items. We adjusted the budget to include information from the city because the lease increased and we will be paying our own rent and so forth. Then the feedback that we've received from the city in regards to the budget and the handling of the finances has been that we're in good standing. So I respect that you are a member of Cheshire TV, but you are not a member of the board. So you do not have the right to inspect our books of record just because you say you want it.
All done?
Okay.
All
Christina,
done?
are you
Is it my
all set?
turn now?
Okay, Lee?
All right. Anybody on the board ever read the operating rights agreement? Any of you have any idea what your obligations are to the city of Keene? No?
We want to hear it from you, Lee.
Well, I told you. The operating rights agreement requires that the finance committee present each quarter a detailed list of every transaction, every one. Everything that happens in that meeting is public. So any member who wants to can look at last finance committee meeting going backwards to the end of time, any quarter they want. So when I say all I want to see is what the board has seen, which I would have seen if the finance committee was doing its job at any point, I wouldn't have to ask, I would just come and get it. My concern is not that it's not there for me to pick up, but I'm being actively blocked, which just makes me want to know why. Why does anybody think that if I say, I'm not the one who wrote that contract, by the way, the city of Keene did. And to my knowledge, Cheshire TV is still a party to that contract. So does somebody on the board, anyone, including Steve Hooper, a city councilor, want to tell me why I'm not allowed to see this documentation? Or why no one cares that it's not being done? More importantly, last question, when the city finds out you're not, and they decide to make an issue of that, what will the explanation be? I couldn't be bothered to read the contract. I joined the board in April, but I haven't had time to realize what my job requirements are. I say, guys, it's really difficult to listen to Christine say that she just started when she started in April, if anybody wants to read the minutes, for the sole purpose of replacing the treasurer. So she had April, May, June, July, August, September to be prepared, to get ready, and she hasn't read the contract. So,
Okay.
one more time, can I see the documentation that is required by the city to be given to the board by the finance committee in a public meeting or not?
I will review I did just take a copy of the operating agreement from Cheshire TV last week. I will review it in detail. And if it shows that I need to give to Lee Perkins, a member of Cheshire TV, not a member of the board, not a member of the municipality, If it tells me that I need to do that, I will do that, but it will not be tomorrow.
And
Okay.
what I
Steve
can
Hooper.
say,
I asked Steve Hooper a question. I'd like him
Okay.
to answer it, please.
yes, Steve.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to give some information. In general terms, Lee, I did check with, I'm talking through the chair. I did check with city manager today and Mayor Hansel in a meeting, and this was okayed by Jody. And I wanted to check to see if they had any red flags with the Cheshire TV. It's critical that we are on a good relationship with the city of Keene, as you mentioned, Lee. And at this meeting, which I had Zoom this morning, there was a consensus between the mayor and the city manager that the Cheshire TV is not in breach of the contract. This Cheshire TV is in a good standing. And they do understand that due to the board being short-staffed, there is understanding by the city manager that things are coming in a little bit later than they should. I think everyone, including members, need to be patient, please. And we're working as fast as we can to get all of this information out to the public. And I think we, in this very, very difficult time, have to be patient. And I do not see some patience there, which is disappointing. But again, the canary in the coal mine, City of Keene, paying us $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 a month. They are fine with the way things are going. And the one concern that the city had is that they'd like to see everyone working together to try to resolve these things and not picking on certain details. And if they see this contentiousness continuing, it's actually going to hurt Cheshire TV more than it isn't. So they want to see people working together. The members, the staff, the board, and the city of Keene all need to work together to try to get things running smoothly. And if that's what they're seeing happening, then there's not going to be a problem. I do know that the contract is very important. It's very, very complex. We need to follow the contract, but the city at this point is saying everything is in good standing. And I just want to say that as a representative from the city of Keene. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right. So I thank all of you for all of your input, and I'd like to move on if we could. And the next item of business is the Operations Committee. I'm just going to talk just a little bit about that, mostly informational. Nick Morton has been working on our website. This was very outdated, and so he's been making some upgrades on it, not financially, just upgrading where things are located, setting up a calendar, and doing a little bit more so that people can find information a little bit easier. And then what we're going to do is we are planning to make up notebooks for all of our staff and board. And if members are interested in information as well, we can send out maybe an electronic version. But we want to make sure that everyone is aware of all of the documentation so that everyone is aware of how decisions are made and what the expectations are. So this is part of what the Operations Committee is working on right now. Okay. All right, the next one is the Nomination Committee. Dave Payson, I don't know if you want to talk about this a little bit. What I can tell you is the nomination deadline was November 25th. We received all of the nominations back in, and the ballots were sent out on Thursday, the 26th. We did have a problem with Jody Newell. Apparently the information had been entered into Facile incorrectly back in November, and just by chance she's been getting emails, but they weren't linked to her account. So when we went to find out if she would be acceptable as a nominee, I didn't find her name on the account. So we did some research and we did send out a corrected version. We apologize. I hate sending out corrections, but we did send that out so that she was included on that list. What I can also tell you is Vicki Ayer was on that list, and she submitted a request to be taken off from the elections. And what I would like to do right now, she asked me to do this too, is to go ahead and read her not resignation, but her withdrawal. So this is what she stated. After I announced my interest serving on the board, I began reading bylaws, policies, and some minutes to educate myself in preparation, as I know nothing about Cheshire TV's board responsibilities. I also asked questions from the members, including board members, about the current issues before Cheshire TV. It is clear everyone wants the best for Cheshire TV. It is unclear of the direction headed. I listened to terms like slander, libel, wrongful termination, lawsuits, and casting blame on individuals by name. The thought of my name being involved has weighed heavily on my mind. It is extremely difficult to deal with aftermath of slander and libel. Frustrated words get spoken from time to time, but should not slip from criticism to slander. Criticism is only a useful tool when accompanied by suggestions. In light of the current tensions and resignations of members, I do not believe volunteering for a board seat is my best interest. I am withdrawing my election. So what I will be doing tomorrow and in the minutes is stating that, and I will be sending something out to the board members to let them know that Vicky has withdrawn her place as a nominee. So the other thing I just wanted to mention, Christine, I'll be right with you.
I just, sorry, point of order,
Yes,
Madam Chair.
yes.
You said you would send an email out to the board members that she is withdrawn, but you will send an email out to all members that she has
Yes.
withdrawn her nomination?
Yes, yes, because they need to know that if they're voting for her, it's not gonna count really. So we did send a corrected version out on, let's see, I think Friday, the 27th. And then anybody that did not we didn't have an email for or bounced back, we physically mailed them a copy. I know it says we don't have to do that. It says that if we don't have their email, then that's the way it is. But after seeing what happened with Jody, I didn't want to see that happen. And so we physically mailed out 10 ballots to people that were not able to receive things by email. The deadline for the ballots to be returned is Monday, December 28th. And the announcement will be made December 29th. Okay, so Dave, do you have anything to add to any of this? Joe Benzinski is the Inspector of Elections. If you have questions, you can contact him. But Dave, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, at the moment, I don't. I expect the election to move ahead as scheduled without problem. And that's about it. I'm sorry that Vicky has decided to withdraw from the candidates for elections to the board, but so be it. That's really all I have to say about this right now.
Yeah. All that I can say is I'm really happy to see the candidates that have stepped up, and I think you have a good field to choose from. So I think whoever we choose is going to be a good, strong board. That's my feeling. Okay, so if nobody does anybody else have any questions? Yes, Dave.
I do. Yeah, is Joe in fact the Inspector of Elections?
Yeah, and he was supposed to be here tonight. I'm not sure where he is.
My understanding is he's not responding to members on this. I believe members have asked and requested info and perhaps even protested this election, and he has not responded. I would like an explanation for what's going on.
I was not aware that he was not responding. So I've talked with him several times about the election, and he's been there every time that I've asked. So
like I've received no communication from him at all. He should be handling the whole thing.
He should be. Yeah, he is.
So,
I mean, yeah.
So how come I'm getting stuff from you? I mean, you must be talking to him about that. Well, what's happening?
Joe is 82 years old, and I'm helping him by doing the administrative part for him. So he makes the choices, he makes the decisions, and I am the administrator for him.
Who certifies the candidates?
He does. He does everything. He's the Inspector of Elections. Yes, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else regarding the nominations? I see no hands, so we're going to move on. Okay, so number 10 is forming a search and hiring committee. I really feel that it's important to have a search committee and not just one person. I can be the contact as the liaison between Aptiva HR, but I do not want to be the person that's only making decisions. So what I would like to see is Christina Germano, Dave Payson, and Nick Morton join that committee. Do we have any kind of a motion or any thoughts on this process?
What were the names again? I'm sorry.
Christina Germano, Dave Payson, and Nick Morton.
Okay.
And I've talked with all of them. They're all on board. So if we are interested, we should make a motion to start a committee. Christina?
I would like to kind of just put it out there. I think right now, and I'm not sure how we would do this, if it would be for the time being, the communications and keeping the ball rolling, looking for this executive director, we need to not stop it right now. But I would like to, once we get a full board, perhaps revisit, and I would be happy to not be on the, committee for search and hiring. But because we are limited to 6 board members right now, we don't want it to stop. I just wanted to say I'd be happy to help with that communication and looking over the HR items, which I have in my wheelhouse and in my experience. But once we have a full complement of a board and 12 members, I would be delighted to step back and bring somebody else that may have be able to bring something else to the table for that search.
Yeah, so noted, Christina, because I feel the same way. I think that once we have more board members on, we have 5 new board members that will be joining us. There will be tasks for them to take. So I think that's going to be great. Yeah. Dave Payson?
Well, it sounded to me like what Christina was suggesting was that we wait on this until we have a full board. No.
No. What she's saying
Frankly,
is
though, well,
we need to keep moving on. And so we need to establish a search committee now, and then the search committee may change in the people that are in the search committee positions. Yes, Christina.
Yeah. What I'd like to say, Dave, is that for the interim, because there's a lot of defining what the job description is and some things that are prior to actually getting in resumes and interviewing people and doing backgrounds on them, that this early part administrative thing, I'm happy to help with. But when it comes to people answering our ads and so forth, that I would rather step back and have somebody else do the actual hiring.
Right.
Sorry to make you repeat that. Oh, okay, I'm not up. There I am. Sorry to make you repeat that. This is all about my poor hearing, and not much I can do about that right now. All right, well, so that made sense to me. Thank you for clarification.
Okay. So do we need, I think we should have a vote on this to establish this committee. Could we have someone that would make a motion?
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to create a new subcommittee called, we can call it the hiring committee, composed of Mrs. Germano, Mr. Payson, and Mr. Morton. Can I get a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second with Steve Hooper. Dave Kirkpatrick, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. We just talked to the person from Adaptiva who is doing a search for an executive director, and I guess it's unclear to me why there'd be then a committee also doing a search for a director, or where you cross over, or what's how is this working? Why are we spending money on something if you guys are also going out and doing it?
Well, they're not going to make the decision for us. And so what they're doing is they're doing the work to bring people to us. And then we will do the interviews and go from there.
Oh.
Committee to do the interviews. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were going to go out and look for.
No, but we need to have a communication between Aptiva and our board as well. So I think that starting a committee would be good. All right. So do we have
any?
Can I
ask what's been done to this point? I mean, Mark let us know he was going in November-ish last year. What steps had you previously taken to try to fill that position? Because that's been a while. I'm just curious what you had tried.
So I believe we had our previous board chair, and he was working with Lee to identify where we should search for an executive director. In the meantime, he fell ill, and then we ran into COVID, and it was hard for the board to know what was going on because all of the search information had gone through Tom Cook. So we're doing what we have to do, and we're trying to do the best thing for Cheshire TV.
Okay.
Anything else? Yes, Steve Hooper.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, I just wanted to say I don't think it's double jeopardy as far as the search. Obviously, the city um, uh, has assistance in searches for their the staff. And I think it's crucial at this point to have assistance with us having the final decision, of course, because our the numbers are down, and it would actually hurt trying to get a super qualified executive director with a search committee of 3 people at this point. And so I think it was a wise decision to get assistance at this point from the outside. And I think ultimately it will bring a stronger candidate to Cheshire TV versus saying that it's a waste of money and why don't we do it ourselves. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Thanks.
Yeah. Lee? Lee Perkins?
Yep, thanks. Just had to unmute. I just wanted to clarify for the minutes and or the recording, something somebody said a few minutes ago caught my ear. There was a process underway last winter to replace the executive director. In April, I believe, of 2020, the minutes reflect that the board of directors requested that Mark Nelson stay indefinitely, and they voted unanimously to suspend the search for an executive director. So just to be sure there's no misunderstanding, the board chose to stop looking, and they asked Mark to stay indefinitely. Thanks.
Okay, so noted. Thank you. Anybody else? Dave Kirkpatrick.
That's it sounds to me like you did in fact do some looking then. I'm going back to my previous question, like, well, where had you been looking? What had you been doing?
That was Lee and Tom Cook. The board was not involved with it at all.
Okay. And
So
that
when
was
Tom
suspended.
resigned in April, the board had no idea what had been going on, where he had been searching, who he had been talking to, any of
Okay.
that.
So Mark said he was going to stay on in April.
I believe it was because of everything that was going on. There was a lot going on with Tom Cook being gone and the board trying to figure out how we were supposed to run, because there was nothing established at that time. It should have been, but it was nothing was established as to who would follow through in the steps of Tom Cook.
And then why did the board get rid of Mark then?
Because Mark had expressed an interest in leaving back in November, and we were holding him up from moving on. And
But he had said he wanted to stay on.
I'm not gonna go into this today. This is nothing to do with the search committee.
It's very interesting that you would have let him go after.
But this is off topic, Dave. This is off topic. The discussion is for starting a search committee. So, okay, is there anything more about the search committee? Okay. Oh, yes,
Wait.
Russell. Yes, I hear you, Russell.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some clarification and understanding. Forgive me if I forget the representative for Adaptiva's name. What was her name?
Karen.
Karen. She mentioned that she had previously spoken with you about what you guys were looking for in an executive director and hiring, but here we're coming up with a committee to find out what you guys are looking for. So my first question is, what have you told them previously and what you guys have been looking for? And also, if this committee needed to happen to help Adaptiva find talent or an executive director, why hasn't it happened before? And the order of operations is just kind of odd to me.
Okay, so November 10th, we wanted to start a search committee or a hiring committee. The search committee or hiring committee, we'll call it a hiring committee, is really a hiring committee. It's to interview the person or the people when we have people to interview. So we're not the ones that are going out and finding the people or identifying things so much as we are going to be making the choices as to who we are going to choose for the executive director. What I'm saying is I would like to have a group of us together to be able to make that decision and not have it on my shoulders. And so that's why we're establishing a search committee. It's not because they're doing something and we're doing the same thing. It's two separate tasks.
Okay, I get that. My question then becomes is how do you know who they're bringing in will fit any of your requirements or who you're looking for? From what I can tell, they're an agency that helps with bringing people in the door, so to speak. But how do you know that who they're bringing into the door is actually the best candidate, or
it's not going to be just one? Yeah, Russell, it's not going to be just one candidate. You know, what we're looking for, this is the problem that we had, is we needed to get started somewhere, and it hadn't gotten really off the ground. It had gotten planted, but it wasn't growing. And so we needed to start somewhere. And so Aptiva has helped us with some other things, and we felt comfortable going to them and asking them for their assistance in getting us rolling. And so that's where we're at. We want their assistance to bring in qualified applicants. And so they have a description, the job description for the executive director, and they know what we're looking for. And so when they find people, they will bring them to us, and the committee will review the talent. So we just need to keep things rolling. Yep. Okay. Is there anybody that you're welcome. You're welcome, Russell. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I don't see any more hands. So this is a motion by Conan Salata that we establish a hiring committee, which will consist of Ms. Germano, Mr. Payson, and Mr. Morton. We received a second by, or have we received a second? We've been doing so much talk. Steve Hooper?
Yeah. Second.
Okay, Steve Hooper did a second. And with no further discussion, oh, Russell, do you have another question? I see your hand up.
No, that was from previous.
Okay,
I did
very
not
good.
raise my hand.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. So we have the motion on the floor. I'd like to take a vote. So we will go ahead with that. I believe Ken is still here. So Ken Colby?
Yes.
Christina Germano?
Yes.
Steve Hooper?
Need to get the moot.
Yep, Steve Hooper?
Yes.
Dave Payson?
Yes.
And Conan Salata?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. So we do have a hiring committee established now. All right.
All right, a question for you.
Yes.
Considering we're going to try to dot all our I's and cross all our T's in this new coming year, new subcommittee. All committees I'm taking are going to be meetings, that is, are going to be put on the new calendar features that we have on the website. Considering that this is more...
It's really a standing committee, really.
Right. How is this something that needs to be televised to the public, or do these need to be closed meetings because we're probably going to be interviewing?
Right. And because we're all here, we may do them in person. I can't say for sure. So we'll just have to see where we're at as things progress. So we'll have more information for you as we go on, Conan. Is that satisfactory?
Well, considering other committees, and this is a question for Lee, I've been through the bylaws through and through. There really isn't an indicator of how the members should be advised of committees meetings, as well as a time frame. As far as I can tell, the only thing the bylaws say is that the minutes from the committees have to be available to the board the following meeting, but there's no indication that the members even have to be notified of committee meetings. Do you have any information on that, Mr. Perkins?
Lee?
Is it okay if I talk to him, Chair?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. I just want to play nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Did somebody say bullshit?
No. No. Anna, could you?
Anyway, Conan, to answer your question,
Anna,
Conan,
could you mute yourself, please, Anna? Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Lee.
Okay. To answer your question, Conan, the all meetings must be open to the public covers all meetings. I think if you have a committee meeting that ends up turning into an interview, there's nothing wrong with having the open part and then, you know, closing it for the non-public interview process. There is some question as to some people as to whether or not you have to send out an email notification for every meeting. My understanding of the bylaw was always that if it is a regularly scheduled thing, like a monthly board meeting, it's the first Tuesday of every month at 5:30. That's a standing thing that you can say, unless we tell you otherwise, that meeting is going to happen. So if you're going to meet finance committee, say third Wednesday of every month, once you put that word out there, as long as that doesn't change, you're not obligated to tell people every month, month after month, because essentially what would happen is your membership would just get inundated with, you know, 15 emails a month. And that wasn't the idea. The idea was to let them choose to come to the meetings if they wanted to. Does that answer your question?
That is exactly my interpretation. And I just wanted to get more, since you did put those bylaws together, am I correct?
I did, and then Daryl broke them, but I'm going to fix them later.
Daryl who, Perry?
Yeah.
I wasn't, I didn't realize there were any changes that were made to them.
Yeah, they got adjusted a couple of times, and there's some housekeeping needs to be done, and I think that's why there's so much confusion about some of them, but that can be dealt with later. Anyway, I'll let you guys go back to it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the next part, Nick, are you still there? Nick Morton? Okay. Nick is going to give an operational update for Cheshire TV, and then we have one more item and then new business. Okay, Nick.
All right. So I've been working on a couple things to make the environment more, not accepting, but welcoming to the members. We're working on updating the website so that it's easier to find what you're looking for. Because before it was kind of, you had to search through 6 sub-menus to find things. So we're working on that. We changed the phone message finally. We figured out how to do that. So it's not the, you know, the send you to a number that doesn't work anymore. We have a doorbell. We're in the process of getting that hooked up downstairs so people won't have to call when they come in. And also a magnetic sign on the door so new members and non-members can find us more easily.
And Nick, tell them why we have to use the back door right now.
Yeah, so because of COVID, the library's requiring that we keep the doors locked. So when members and non-members show up, they have to call and we have to go down and let them in. So we figured a doorbell would, you know, alleviate some of that. You touched on it earlier. We created a calendar in the website. There was a problem with it earlier, but it's fixed now. The calendar is up in public, and that will include the upcoming meetings. And then that's where you can go to find the Zoom links for the meetings. I'll still continue to post them in the board of directors spot, just so there's, you know, no chance for confusion. The last thing I have is the Nexus update. Right now, the date is January 5th for the install. That's because they have a couple things they need on back order, and they should all be in at that point. They're expecting a half a day of downtime for the station. And as soon as we get a confirmation that that's true, we can send out an email and post it just so people aren't blindsided by it. And they also said that in the event the equipment that they need comes in sooner, they said that they can come and install it sooner.
Excellent. Okay, and Nick, programming, community, and then COVID?
So COVID, we are working on putting up a bulletin board with some signage. We are requiring that masks be worn inside the building. And that's about what I have for that.
Mm-hmm. And then programming and community. We just had a couple of programs, and what do you have coming up a little bit?
So there are a few new shows. in the works. There have been a couple one-off projects working with the Hannah Grimes Center, the Kiwanis Club, doing the tree lighting. I'm in the process of working with the YMCA, see if they want to do anything. I believe we're up to 71 members now, 70, in the last 2 weeks, which is awesome. But I've been trying to reach out to members of the community and see if more people want to come in and, you know, learn how to use the equipment and submit some programming to us. And a lot of people are getting really excited about it lately.
Great, great. And Nicholas, what about live stream?
Live streaming. So I'm looking into that right now. I believe the only problem that we had with the live streaming in the past is that they started charging us for it with the software that we were using. But I found a way where we can stream to the website without having to pay a subscription. All we would need is to purchase an encoder to get it up into the internet. But we wouldn't have to pay a recurring subscription fee.
Okay. Yep. So we may know more about that in the next upcoming weeks then, I guess.
Yeah, that's on my list to do this week.
Okay. All right. Lee, you have your hand up. I don't know if it was not taken down or not. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I just wanted the clarification. I want to make sure I heard correctly. You've got the, is it Access AV that's doing the installation of the Nexus in January?
Correct.
And you said they're telling you that you have to be down for half the day?
While they update the system.
So you really should be able to continue broadcasting while they do that. And then the handover should only take about 5 minutes. You don't have to go down. And I can tell you in my experience, and ask Rick, ask anybody, the phone will ring all day, no matter how many emails you send out, and people will freak out. Trust me, it's better if you just stay on the air and at the last minute have Access AV do the handover. And like I said, the process, we've done this before. It's less than 5 minutes. So double check with them. And I don't know if the people that I have relationships with are still there or not, because it's been a while, but you know, if you get any kind of pushback, you know, they might push back on you because they think you're new and don't know things, but maybe let me know who you're talking to and I might be able to see if I can get the owner to get involved.
Okay,
You should not be off the air ever. Okay, cool.
I will definitely be looking into that. Thanks for bringing that up to me.
Okay. And Dave, did you have a question?
Well, I did. I wanted to talk to the COVID bit just a little bit. And I just ask if you had considered, you know, I go in for a camera kit and I either follow somebody up the stairwell or jump in the elevator. I don't jump in the elevator, or we split part ways, whatever. But, you know, a curbside or, you know, out the back door might be a nice way to do that. Nobody has to go into the building to simply pick up a kit and a tripod, as long as we don't, you know, get it wrong or somebody doesn't say, hey, do you have this also or whatever. But, and that might be a handy thing to use with renewals of memberships and stuff like that too. Like I'm not sure how many of the people I work with, some just won't go anywhere. You know, some people are fine,
Right.
but that's more and more, that's the type of thing I'm doing, is if I have to go in a place, I often don't. And the other piece would just be that I had asked a while ago about edit computers. I saw that in the minutes about laptops that could go out for people to do editing. And I'm just going to suggest that operationally is a really great idea. You guys have, you know, you can afford it. You could put a Adobe on 1 or 2 nice laptops that people could take out and do their edit work at home. It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, it's half the cost of a camera kit to do something like that. We send camera kits out the door with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. So sending a computer out the door is no different than a camera. And an edit is usually an involved process. That means somebody coming into the office for a period of time and hanging around. And I can tell you, the stores I dare go into, I don't stick around. If I had to sit in there for 2 hours and edit, or 4 or whatever, I'm going to suggest that that's a really good thing to look into for the membership, is to be able to take the stuff and do it anywhere, because the future that you're looking at is everything is light, everything is fast, and you can do it anywhere. So that would be a wise COVID improvement to the kit.
I think that's some, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
I appreciate the feedback about the roadside equipment drop off. We have been offering that. We just haven't. It was to people who have been asking for it, but we can definitely be more vocal and public about that, because that's definitely a good thing. If they're just, like you said, if they're just coming in for a camera and a tripod, there's no reason they have to walk all the way upstairs with us and, explain to everybody.
Yeah.
Or to re-up a membership or something. I mean, they can just call you in unless they need to show you money or a new ID or something like that. But you know, the less contact, the better.
This is great. This is really great. Yeah.
And on the laptops, that idea was actually presented to me today, and I put it on my list to look into that, because I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And at some point when I mentioned this, we were all arguing. We always argue. And somebody said, well, Adobe, geez, I don't know about that. What's cheap, what's free? And I balked at the time, and I would re-balk again. There are members that we've taught to use Adobe, and there's a big value to people who use the studio in learning modern professional stuff. I mean, you can do it on this or you can do it on that, but the people who know Adobe, those members get something out of that, particularly if they're in an educational program. So having that Adobe suite on there is only a couple more licenses. That said, the free stuff I use, since I'm no longer there, I cheaped out and I'm running free, and it runs well enough on a modest laptop, and I can recommend that stuff too if there's there's
awesome.
desire.
That's great. That's
Thank
great.
you, Kate.
Yeah. And Nick is looking into, education and training and all of this too, the outreach. So, we're working on all of these things, and I know that Nick will have more information for you guys next month as well. Nick, do you have anything else?
I believe Kirsten had a.
Oh, I'm sorry.
question.
Yes, Kirsten, go ahead.
Or Nick, you were talking about updating the website. In the policies and bylaws, the operating agreement that's on there is from 2015. The most recent one, I believe, is from 2019. If you wouldn't mind having the most recent operating agreement on the website, I think that would be good.
Yeah,
Sure,
I agree, Kirsten.
I will have that done tomorrow when I get in.
Cool.
Thank you for letting me know.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it had never been updated, but yeah, we'll definitely get it. There's a lot of other things that I've seen on the website too that we just need to update. So we will get there. Okay, so Nick, again, are you all set?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the last item before we go on to new business is the board removal petition. Because of the changes that we've had with board members leaving, Diane leaving, Conan is now the secretary. So we're going to have Conan establish a date. We will send out the notifications so that everyone has 30 days to be able to join us for that meeting. And Conan, have you decided on a date for the petition to remove board members?
So there was a petition requested by members of Cheshire TV to have a special meeting to remove directors and fill vacancies. I need 30 days of notification. And of course, we've got to get this done before the 13th
of January.
The 12th happens to be a Tuesday, which seems to work well for people. I'm okay with scheduling that meeting for the 12th of January, but any time in the previous week, I think will also work if another date and time will work better for the members. Otherwise, January 12th, 5:30 p.m. Zoom call. If everyone's cool, that's it. Do we need to make a motion to schedule that date?
I don't think we need a motion. I believe it's up to the secretary to make that decision, and Lee has a question. Yes, Lee.
Sorry, I had to unmute. It's harder than you think. I followed all your logic there. If I can talk directly to Conan. So the bylaw requirement is that the meeting must happen within 90 days of the date of the letter.
Mm-hmm.
The 13th is the deadline. So if anything goes wrong on the 12th, then the meeting has to happen on the 13th, and you would not be able to give anybody notice. You need to give everybody at least 10 days notice. My recommendation is to not cut it quite that close, because if something goes wrong with the date you schedule, if, for example, there's a Zoom failure, and you're after January 3, you cannot have the meeting and give 10 days notice. So my recommendation would be give yourself 10 days prior to the 3rd just to be safe.
Christina has a question.
Yeah, so I think where we're at now, because we do need to give 30 days notice to the membership before that meeting happens, that I think really the best, if you wanted it early, would be just the week before. I think planning for the, you know, Armageddon or something on a particular day isn't really how we should do it. But if we have to give 30 days notice, and we are almost into December 2nd, for the secretary to give that notice, and then of course that's a weekend. So, I mean, I would just say that the only other option would be the week before that. But the week before that on Tuesday is a regular board meeting. So that's just my input there.
If I could, Madam Chair.
Yes, Lee.
Just for clarification, you are only required to give 10 days notice. So that gives you a little more
It
leeway.
said 30 days on the sheet. I don't know. Maybe I was just reading it differently, but
You don't. I'll say
that's okay.
this again.
That's okay.
Just trying to help.
If it's only
Conan,
10
as the
days, if it's only
secretary-
10 days, that's great.
Conan, as the secretary, can schedule it without the board's involvement if he wants to review the bylaws to be 100% sure that it's 10, not 30. You know, my advice was just advice. I know I'm being overly cautious, but there's, you know, I'm a cautious guy. So maybe Conan looks up the bylaw and then decides from there.
Section 5.04, I'm sorry, 5.03, special meetings shall be held at least 30 days and no more than 90 days after being called. This is a special meeting.
But that's the requirement for holding them between 30 and 90 days. The notice is different. So that bylaw is accurate. You have to hold the meeting at least 30 days after it's called, but not more than 90. Again, I'd say we can talk, you know, you and I could talk tomorrow. We can talk about, I can find the bylaws. I'm not in my house right now. And I can find that section for you. It doesn't require the entire board's involvement.
Okay, just one sec. Kirsten?
Oh, sure. I wanted to talk a little bit about, and we don't have to talk about it right now, or I could just kind of fire off a few comments and then we can talk about it at a later date. I wanted to talk about the structure of the meeting just because it's, you know, doing Zoom calls and stuff, for example, because I want it to be fair, right? Mm-hmm. So, for example, if someone doesn't have the ability to use their video, I would like to know if there's going to be a way we can verify that people are who they say they are, so that, you know, because if I wasn't using video, I could call in and say I'm anybody I want. Someone says, oh, I don't care that much, I don't think I'm going to show. I call in, put their name in. I just want the vote to be fair. Mm-hmm. And then also, because Nick's done a great job with engagement and we've got, you know, members are growing, is there a way to provide us with like a current list of people who are eligible to vote as of the day of the meeting? Mm-hmm. I know everyone wants it to be fair, right? We don't want to have arguments over, oh, well, this happened or this happened. So those are the two things that I thought of, if you hadn't thought of them already.
So does this have to be as of the date of the meeting for who is going to be voting, or the date of the letter? Because the date of the letter was October 15th. So I was under the impression that we had to go back to that. If we can include everybody, that's great. But I was under the impression that we had to only have the members that were members as of October 15th. Lee, can you explain that?
Yes, sorry. Really wish I was faster at that. There is a multiple mentions in the bylaws for various different meetings and activities that specify something known as a date of record. It gives the board the ability to say, you can't vote in the election if you weren't a member at a certain date, and that prevents ballot stuffing, essentially. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, if somebody says, you know, I would like to have a meeting for the purpose of removing board members, what you don't want is for there to suddenly be a massive influx of new people that all conveniently vote against that motion. So if you lock that date on the date of the letter, then no one can cheat essentially.
Right.
Um,
And so
go
there were 55 members at that time, and we know who the members were. And so we can do it that way if that's the legal way to do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you asking me?
No, I'm just saying if that's the way we're supposed to do it, then that's what we can
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I agree. I concur.
Okay. All right. And so with this, because I haven't seen this happen often, do we have to have an agenda? How do we open the meeting? I don't know if there's anything that says how we have to do this. I know that that's the only item that we can talk about is the removal and the replacement. And
Again,
who
is that for me?
runs? Yeah, I'm putting it out there to anybody that,
Oh.
and you probably know more than anybody else, Lee. But what I'm saying is who runs the meeting? We know that we need to notify them, but what are we supposed to do? Does Conan run the meeting because he's the secretary?
Chairperson has to be there or the vice chair.
Okay.
Secretary has to be there. Only thing we can discuss, only thing we can vote on is the articles.
Right.
The purpose of the meeting.
Okay. So we really don't need much of an agenda, just one that reviews who they're taking off and who they're adding, correct?
Well, so somebody would make a motion. Yeah, you would have the two items. The bylaw allows for the removal of directors without cause.
Right.
So that takes care of discussion and debate. It's not a trial.
Right.
Somebody will make a motion to remove either all the board members or individual board members by name, second vote, and then you repeat until no more motions happen. And then somebody would make a motion to fill the vacancies again, either in mass or one at a time, second vote, and that's it. One thing to point out is if the membership as a group removes any of the officers, as soon as the two items are done, then the meeting has to immediately come to an end, because the next logical process would be a regular board meeting at which time they would get new officers. And then that would have to be noticed to the membership, just like standard, it's a weird thing, but there's parliamentary procedure that explains it. And it's basically a meeting with only two purposes. You do thing one, then thing two, and then the meeting is over.
Right. And it only requires 10% of the membership to make this decision?
It requires 10% of the membership at the time the letter was signed.
So 6 people. It requires 6 people to make that decision for everybody.
Oh, I suck at math.
Well, it was 55. So
yeah, 5.5 people. You get a really short person, you're golden.
Right. Okay. Conan, do you have any other questions regarding this? Or does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Conan, do you want to decide on a date, Conan, or not?
I will look at my calendar.
Okay.
And the bylaws, and it does say 10 days, by the way.
Okay, great.
And
great.
We'll get that mailed out to the members.
Okay, so Conan, you and I can talk.
Put on the calendar.
Yes, and on the website, and yeah. Yep. So,
by the way, I noticed I'm looking at the avatars here, and I noticed there's a second Kirsten Klaus. Or am I just seeing things?
Hi, sorry. Yep, I have it pulled up on my phone because I had to step away, so I could take you with me.
Because you were just talking about people voting twice or people who weren't.
Okay, I will.
I didn't know if you were testing the system already to see if you're on playing our game.
Conan, no.
You're testing us, aren't you? Yeah, no.
So I had to walk away and I didn't want to miss anything. So.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so we're going to leave it that Conan will get back to us. He knows the deadline. We know that we only have to offer you 10 days for the membership to be notified, and we will go from there. Conan, are you good with everything for that? Awesome. All right. New business. Let's see. Steve Hooper, did you have something that you wanted to add for new business still?
Madam Chair, I had that input during the finance
committee. So
committee.
that was the input from the city of Keene.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is there anything else that anybody else would like to add for new business? Oh my goodness. I think we might be at the end of the meeting.
If you want, I can make something up.
No, Lee, I don't really need to have you make anything up. But what I do want to do is I want to thank you guys, because this has been one of the most enjoyable meetings that I have had since I have been the chair. So I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting, same time, first Tuesday of the month.
Next meeting will be January 5th. But we'd like to get a motion to adjourn, and let's see. Yeah, motion, it'll be January 5th, 2021, 5:30 Zoom webinar, just like this one. If it works, that's great. If it doesn't, then that stinks. But you know, we're going to do the best that we can. And this is how we want to have our meetings. We want to have them so that people are able to talk and not be talked over. Dave Payson, you had a hand up?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Awesome.
I'll
Second,
second.
Christina Germano seconds it. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, no discussion. Let's see, we'll vote. Steve,
Yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Dave Payson,
Yes.
and that is it. So unanimously approved to adjourn the meeting tonight. And our next meeting is Tuesday, January 5th, and it's at 5:30 on a webinar. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
all. Good night.
Thank
night.
you. Take care.